The Law Factor with advocate Clarence Arenas-Gandawa.
Greetings of the day. Force majeure is the quiet clause at the end of every contract. A safety valve, a shield against the unpredictable, a recognition that even the strongest agreements are still written on a fragile planet. But when missiles strike energy hubs, when ports fall silent, when a single attack freezes 20% of global LNG, force majeure becomes more than a clause. It becomes a battlefield, a legal earthquake, a redistribution of risk, power, and survival. And when a corporation declares force majeure, the question is no longer academic. Who carries the loss? Who absorbs the shock? Who pays the price when the world bends? Contracts are not just paper, they are promises. And today, those promises are being tested by geopolitics. The legal shockwave, when performance becomes impossible. Force majeure is meant to protect parties from events beyond their control, but in its invocation is never neutral. It shifts burdens, it reallocates risk, it exposes the architecture of global inequality. In the Qatar energy crisis, the law must confront attacks on critical infrastructure, complete shutdown of LNG production, suspension of long-term supply contracts, impossible delivery obligations, price spikes across continents, states scrambling for emergency alternatives. The legal question is simple. Was performance truly impossible or merely unprofitable? The moral question is harder. Should the poorest nations bear the cost of a conflict they did not start? Let's look at a case study. The buyer with no power. Consider a small African utility dependent on LNG imports, locked into long-term contracts, no domestic reserves, no strategic storage, no bargaining power. When Qatar Energy declares force majeure, ships stop sailing, power plants slow down, fertilizer prices rise, food inflation follows, households suffer. This utility did nothing wrong. It did not fire a missile, it did not provoke a conflict, it simply trusted a contract. But force majeure does not care about innocence, it cares about clauses, and clauses often favor the powerful. This is the injustice hidden in global energy law. The shock is global, but the suffering is local. Judicial responsibility, interpreting the clause with constitutional eyes. Courts must remember, force majeure is not a corporate escape hatch. It is a legal doctrine rooted in fairness. Judges must insist on proof of impossibility, not inconvenience, evidence of mitigating efforts, transparency in operational assessments, proportionality in suspending obligations, protection of weaker contracting parties. A judge's duty is not to rubber stamp declarations, it is to interrogate them, to ensure that force majeure is a shield, not a sword. When courts fail to scrutinize force majeure, they become silent accomplices in global economic harm. Let's talk Parliament, legislating for a volatile world. Legislatures must modernize contract law for an era of geopolitical instability. Nations need statutes that require clear definitions of qualifying events, mandatory disclosure of disruptions, limits on prolonged suspension of supply, hardship clauses for vulnerable buyers, regional emergency procurement frameworks, penalties for opportunistic declarations. When Parliament is silent, corporations improvise, and improvisation is where exploitation thrives. A world of fragile supply chains demands a world of resilient laws. Public education, understanding the clause that shapes your bills. Citizens must know force majeure affects electricity prices, it affects fertilizer and food, it affects transport and inflation, it affects national budgets, it affects jobs and livelihoods. This is not an abstract legal doctrine. It is a kitchen table issue, a grocery basket issue, a national security issue. Communities must learn how global contracts work because their lives depend on them. Eswatini in focus: the vulnerability of small states. For Eswatini, the Qatar energy crisis exposes dependence on external energy markets, lack of strategic reserves, exposure to global price shocks, limited negotiation, leverage, absence of regional energy buffers. This is a warning. Small states cannot rely on goodwill. They must rely on law, strategy, and foresight. Eswatini must strengthen its procurement laws, diversify its energy sources, and build regional alliances that protect it from global turbulence. Energy security is not a luxury, it is sovereignty. Force majeure is not a loophole. It is not a corporate privilege. It is a doctrine of fairness, and fairness must be defended. A world on fire requires contracts that can survive heat. A world of conflict requires laws that protect the weak. A world of fragile supply chains requires leaders who understand that justice is not only in the courtroom, it is in the marketplace. The law must ensure that when crisis strikes, the burden does not fall on the smallest nations and the poorest citizens. Do not fear the clause. Fear a world where the clause is abused. Do not accept global shocks as destiny. Demand legal systems that protect the vulnerable. The law moves forward, you must move with it. See you next Thursday. The work continues.
Springfield Law Clinic, justice defined, rights protected. We are here to serve.